Hello, I am Mark Alperovich. I am the president of Isograd. So, first of all, I would like to say that adaptive testing is not always the ideal algorithm when you design a test. The first thing that you have to wonder when you design a test is, what am I trying to achieve? Typically, if you are creating a driving license test, you want to make sure that someone is able to drive a car and is safe for himself and for the other cars. In such case, you want to make sure that the candidate has a minimum skills level, and you don't really care whether he's a fantastic driver or a great driver. You just want to make sure that he's good enough to drive on the road. So, in such case, adaptive testing wouldn't make sense. You want only to make sure that the candidate has a minimum skill level. So there is no point asking him very difficult questions. You just want to make sure that he's good enough. In other diplomas, where the result is a pass or fail, the best way to achieve a result is to ask questions that have a difficulty level that corresponds to the pass rate. Asking questions in a pass or fail test where the difficulty is much lower than the pass rate doesn't make much sense, because you are assessing the candidate on a skill level that is too low compared to what you are trying to achieve. So what we see is that asking questions of various difficulties is mostly relevant when the result that you want to deliver is a level, a grade, or some kind of indicators that can take different values. So a score on 1000, a letter from A to E, a grade on 20, but it makes sense to have questions of various difficulty when you want to deliver a numerical indicator. In such case, adaptive testing does make sense. One thing I would like to mention is delivering a numerical indicator is not always possible. If I take back the driver license, okay, it would be possible to give a score at the end of the test saying you're a great driver. So not only you have the right to drive, but you're a great driver. But now let's imagine the following skill, which would be I speak French and I speak German. And let's say I want to define a numerical indicator. So a first candidate speaks fluently German and doesn't speak French. So if my indicator is a score on 1000, I will give him a 500 grade because he is good in German and doesn't speak French. Now let's take a French candidate. He is very good in French and doesn't speak German, so he would also get 500. And now let's take a US student from a university who is learning French and German, so he speaks good French and good German. So he gets also 500 because he's some kind of fluent on both subjects. So we see that these three candidates, one speaks fluently French and no German, one speaks fluently German and no French, and the third one speaks a bit of both languages, they get the same score, they get 500. So imagine that now they put this score on the resume, and the guy who is going to recruit them says, you have 500, but what does it mean? Does it mean that you speak French? Does it mean that you speak German? Does it mean that you speak both? You see that in such case, the score doesn't work, because people with different profile will get the same score. So the score doesn't discriminate the level of the candidate. And in such case, a pass or fail test would work. Let's imagine that to have the pass score, you need to speak a minimum French and a minimum level of German. In such case, the first candidate, the French one, would fail. The one who only speaks German would fail too, and only the US students who speak both languages would get the pass mark. And in such case, the recruiting guy would say, okay, you passed it. So it means that you speak a bit of German and a bit of French. You may actually have a very good level in both languages. This I don't know, but I know that if you get the pass rate, then you speak both languages. So what we have just illustrated is that scoring is not always possible. It's mainly possible when the skills that you are trying to measure are heavily correlated with each other. i.e., if I score someone on Excel, the software application, Then there are various skills. There is the formulas, there is the data management, sorting, filtering data, there are the graphs. So these are many skills which are quite close to each other and which are good enough to be synthesized in only one score. But some other subjects like digital skills, they may be much more difficult to score. Let's say that in a digital skill test, I put some social networks knowledge, some search on internet, some security, and also some creating documents. Well, you see that some people may be very good at using social networks with a very low knowledge of security on internet. And you will get the effect that we have just described, i.e. the score, one given score, may reflect totally different patterns of skills, which makes the score useless because someone who will look at this score will not understand what are the skills level of the candidate. So in order to do scoring, you need to have heavily correlated skills within the set of skills that you are trying to assess. So now, how does adaptive testing work? Well, the idea is to say, what is the question that will bring me the most information about the skill level of the candidate? Well, let's assume that I've already asked a few questions to the candidate, and at this point in time, I estimate that the candidate is an expert on the subject. If I ask him a very easy question, the candidate will probably answer correctly. Would it bring me any information? No. My guess that the candidate was an expert. I ask him a very easy question. He answers correctly. Great. I mean, I knew that. There was no point asking him. I knew that already. In the opposite way, if I have a candidate who I assume, or the first question I've asked him, my estimate of his level is that he doesn't have the skill. If I ask him an expert question, then he will not be able to answer it. Okay. Does it bring me any information? No. My estimate was that he had a low skill level. He fails a very difficult question. I knew that. There was no point asking him. So we start to see that the question that is the most relevant to ask is the question that exactly corresponds to the skill level of the candidate. i.e., let's say I estimate that the candidate is proficient on a subject. Now I ask him a difficult question. Well, if he succeeds, it will tell me an information. It will tell me that, okay, the candidate not only is proficient, but maybe he's even a bit better than that. If he fails, it will tell me something that, okay, he's proficient, but if I ask him advanced question, then it's a bit too difficult for him. So you see that the question that brings the most information about the level of the candidate is the question that has a difficulty level that matches exactly what is your guess of his level. So now we can design an adaptive test. What I'm going to do is first to ask, let's say, these are the questions asked, and this is the difficulty. So here is very easy, here it's hard, and here we have medium questions. So first I'm going to ask a certain number of medium questions. Okay, let's 4 or 5. This will enable me to determine an initial level of the candidate. Let's say he has answered correctly all the medium questions. My initial guess of his level would be to say he is very good. So what am I going to do? I'm going to ask a very difficult question. Now, if he succeeds, my hypothesis that he is very good will be somehow confirmed. So in case of success, I'm going to put a green arrow. I ask him another or even harder question. Let's say he fails on this more difficult question. Then I'm going to ask an easier question. And let's say he fails again. So my estimate of his level say, okay, he can do that, but when it's around here, he fails. So I'm going to ask him an easier one. And normally, at some point in the test, you will end up with a pattern where if the questions are easier, he succeeds. If the questions are more difficult, he fails. Basically, this is the definition of the level of the candidate. It's a level where if you ask him question of this difficulty, in most of, he will either succeed or fail. What are the benefits of adaptive testing? In most of the case, you have only a certain amount of time to assess your candidate, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 1 hour. By only asking questions that are relevant to determine the skill level of the candidate within this time frame, you are more efficient, you are more precise because you don't ask questions which are not relevant to determine the level of the candidate. It's also a better experience for the candidate because asking very difficult questions to a candidate that has a poor level will make him feel very uncomfortable. In the opposite way, asking too easy questions to an expert will make your test perceived as not a good test by the expert. So the adaptive testing enables us to get a more precise score by only asking relevant questions in a limited time frame. To summarize what we've seen today, the first thing is that when you design a test, you first have to think of what am I going to deliver as a result? Is it a grade? Is it a score on 1000? Is it a pass or fail? Even if scores or grades sound better, it's not always possible to deliver such information, especially if the set of skills that you are trying to assess are not heavily correlated. If the set of skills that you are trying to assess are heavily correlated, then it may make sense to go for scoring. If you go for scoring, you will then have to ask questions of various difficulty in order to be able to rank the candidate from a low skill level up to an expert level. If you are asking questions of various difficulties, then it makes sense to use adaptive testing to have a more precise test and only ask the relevant question to your candidate.